Hi, welcome to the DanCan Show, where I love what I do and I do what I love, and so should you. Hey, I'm going to share with you how I got my first job at 10 years old and how that same skill set can make you passive income here in beautiful Spokane, Washington. Stay tuned to hear more. Hey, welcome to the Dan Can Show, and I'm Dan Can. This is the show where we learn how to provide, protect, and promote. We do that by investing in ourselves, others, and real estate. If you are a husband, if you are a father, if you are a leader, this show is built and made just for you. I am so excited to share this story. It's amazing, but I think it will bring some definite value to you and your building wealth journey. So here's the story. I grew up in a little area for a couple of years when I was 10, 9, 10, 11 years old, called Keyport, Washington. Now, Keyport, Washington was a very amazing, interesting town for a young boy to grow up in because it was very close knit community. It had a mercantile or small grocery store, but it also had this amazing dock. And so it's right on the water. And man, I spent countless hours fishing off of that dock. In addition to that, it was right next to a torpedo base. I know that sounds odd, but there was a torpedo base right next to it. And as kids, it was always our adventure to try to get onto the base. We always talked about sneaking on, but I always felt like that was probably a bad idea with the whole Department of Defense thing. But where this comes into play is I was 10 years old and I was just being a kid. I was riding my bike around, I was fishing, I was just having a great time. And there, I had a friend named Jason, and he was a couple years older than I was. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, would you like a job?" And I said, "I'm 10 years old. Like, I can't really have a job." And he said, "I have a paper route. And me and my family, we're moving to Texas, and I need to find someone to take a paper route." This was a referral. He came to me saying, "Hey, would you like this opportunity?" And I didn't have anything going on except for fishing and riding my bike. And I jumped on that opportunity right then and there. And man, it was amazing. I got this paper route and I had obviously customers that were given to me. And then my job was to deliver the papers, get more customers. But then I also had to collect, which I had never done before. And man, I learned so much about people and I learned so much about working hard and being diligent. And I also learned that if you don't keep the papers dry, they get wet, and customers hate wet papers. When you're 10 years old, you don't think about that. But here's one of the funnest things about referrals is when you get a referral, it's a transfer of trust. Now, what does this paper route story have to do with real estate, providing, protecting, and promoting? These off market properties that we find, they are typically from people that I have built relationships with, that I have built trust with, that are what I call referrals. I have built 3 businesses off of a referral network, and that has been my joy. I love referrals. I think they're fantastic. And once again, back to Jason, that transfer of trust. So he went to the Bremerton Sun, is what it was called, said, "Hey, there's this kid, Danny." That's what I was called back in the day. "And he's trustworthy. He'll be able to do the job." I was able to get the job because of Jason. He introduced me. And then that occupation, if you will, being a paperboy, introduced me to collections, to working hard, to being diligent. I also learned that the paper on Thanksgiving was 3 times heavier than the papers throughout the whole year. You don't know that until, of course, you're doing the paper route. So referrals are so important with real estate because we're trying to find a product that is 30 to 40, sometimes 50% of its value. And the people that find those products, that house, that apartment complex, they're called wholesalers. And I market and talk to 4 to 6 wholesalers here in Spokane. My partner in Kitsap County, he deals with 3 to 5 there. And they give unbelievable deals to people that they know and trust. And that's us. How I built my referral network. And if you decide to invest with me, and if you're interested in investing with me, I really encourage you to look into my website, look at my website, investwithdancan.com. It has the whole plan. You can sign up for a webinar. It'll get emailed to you directly. You can see the whole plan on how we find these properties to invest in. So when you have a referral, you have to be able to act on it, right? And so I'm very upfront with the wholesalers. When they send me a deal, I'll look at it. I look at tax assessed value. I look at Zillow value. And if it's not in our ballpark, I immediately let them know, hey, this isn't for us. We're going to pass. Because that person's talking, obviously, to other people. When I do see one, when we want to strike, man, we strike fast and we can close really quickly. And that's why wholesalers like working with me. And that's why I've started this private money investment fund, because it allows me to really do really great things like close quickly. These are businessmen and women. They want to get paid. And so that's how that works. Jason taught me something amazing. I believe it was 1985 that he referred me to the Bremerton Sun, and the Bremerton Sun then showed me this whole amazing marketplace principles that I'm still utilizing today. Hey, after this short break, I'm going to break down a deal that we just picked up after a word from our glorious sponsors.
Tired of missing real estate deals because you were waiting for the bank to approve your funding? At Wave Capital Investing, we get you funded fast with flexible terms and a streamlined process. No red tape, no stress. Apply today at wavecapitallending.com and ride the wave to your next successful real estate investment.
Hey, welcome back. All right, we purchased just a July update, if you will, for DanCan Enterprises. So July has been a fantastic month for us for real estate. We've sold 2 properties. A lot of wholesalers, like I just mentioned, are sending some fantastic deals our way. And so it's been a wonderful adventure. High-end homes. So what I consider high-end homes, 800,000 to 1.2 or above, they're sitting a lot longer than first-time home buyers. And those are the homes that we work on, is first-time home buyers. So one of the great things about what we do is we buy down at the county courthouse steps. I've mentioned that many times. And we had the opportunity to buy a fantastic house at the courthouse steps. What's interesting about this is there is a tenant, a resident, if you will, and we went and notified them that we now own the property and we're going to start the eviction process. And my team who went to go notify the person, these are always can be a little sketchy, right? And so they went to this house, and we try to be very coarse, treat people the way you want to be treated. The team member knocks on the door and she opens the door and she has a massive Rottweiler. The team was very much like, we're just here to let you know that we bought the property. The dog was very nice. When you're walking into a situation where you think it might be a negative situation, and then that person opens the door with a Rottweiler, it can get a little tight. We are really having a wonderful time finding these off-market properties. We're going to be starting another direct mail campaign. I started this episode talking about referrals, definitely a strong pillar of our business, but we also really believe in direct mail. I know it's 2025 and people are like, do direct mail, does it really work? I would just encourage you to go to your mailbox. And when you look at your mail, look at all the corporations that still do direct mail. Ford Motor Company, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, all of these companies are multi-billion-dollar companies. They still do direct mail. I am not a multi-billionaire company just yet. And so we still do direct mail. If you want to invest with me and you want to earn monthly passive income, once again, I'm going to say it again, go to investwithdancan.com. And that will give you a webinar email link where you can be able to see more of what we do with greater detail. When I come back, I'm going to do DanCan musings. And this is a really funny DanCan musing. It involves the grocery store and grapes. Stay tuned.
Overwhelmed by taxes, payroll, and bookkeeping? Busy Bee Bookkeeping helps Spokane businesses save time, money, and sanity. From tax prep and planning to custom fit bookkeeping and payroll, we tailor every service to your needs. Take the sting out of tax season. Visit busybeebookkeeping.com or call 509-931-159 and let us keep your books so you can grow your business.
Welcome back. All right. Like I mentioned, I live in Spokane, Washington. And one of the great things about Spokane, and you learn this really quick living here, is Spokane is a real budget town. It's a budget town. People really watch their pennies here. And I'm okay at that. I'm not the best at it, but I'm definitely okay at it. I'm at the grocery store and I'm in the produce section. And I am notorious in our house for purchasing strawberries and raspberries that are already getting moldy and bringing them back to the house. That doesn't do the family any good. And so I'm trying to get better about perusing the produce to make sure that it's not moldy. I'm standing there and I'm really staring at these strawberries. You got to look at the bottom, shift it, and then there's some raspberries. So I'm looking at the raspberries. I'm standing there and this woman comes up to me and she literally is standing right next to me. And I was like, whoa, oh, sorry, excuse me, pardon me. And I'm an American, right? I like 18 inches of space. She's standing right next to me. And oh no, she had bagged up some produce and for some reason left it right there. And I was like, oh, okay. So I scooted over and she had these bags of grapes in her hand. And she's, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Grapes at $4.99 a pound. Can you believe it? And I was like, I don't know. Is that bad or is that good? Obviously, it was bad. And she's just hounding me about the grapes at $4.99. And her husband, had the cart, who was like across the way in the grocery store, she starts yelling, "Hey, can you believe it? Grapes are $4.99 a pound." I just was like, okay. Then I went and bought some grapes because they look good and they weren't moldy, praise God. And so it reminded me of a story of my second job that I had where I was a bagger for Albertsons, and Albertsons is a grocery store chain here in Washington. So I'm 16 years old and I'm just bagging all this stuff. And where the break room was, you had to go upstairs and you could see the whole store. There was this gentleman that would come in and he was notorious. Everybody knew what this guy would do. And he would come in and he'd come in with his son and he would get 4 donuts and then he would start shopping. And I forgot to tell you why I mentioned the lady with the $4.99 grocery with the produce, with the grapes. As she is literally screaming across the grocery store about $4.99 grapes, she starts eating the grapes before she buys them. And she's just eating the grapes over. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's stealing. And plus, I guess that's one way to get the price down, right? Is you get the weight down. And I was like, that's not correct. Which made me think about this story, which was when I was a bagger and this guy would come in with his son. They would get 4 donuts. They would shop and they would eat the donuts and then not pay for them. And everybody in the store knew about this. After a couple months, one of the younger guys that was a checker, he does his groceries and all these things. And then he looks the man straight in his eyes and he says, "So would you like to pay for the 4 donuts that you ate?" And the guy and the gentleman who had done this many times, of course, "Oh yeah." And I remember as a bagger, I was like, "Oh dang, that got tight." So those are my DanCan musings. Don't steal from grocery stores. That's a bad idea. And I guess grapes at $4.99 are expensive. I am going to take a break and we're going to tie this all together about how being a referral, wholesale, buying off-market properties can make you money in your sleep.
One accident can change everything. Are you covered? At DanCan Insurance Agency in Spokane, we protect what matters most: your family, your car, your peace of mind. Get a free quote in a timely fashion. DanCan, because you can count on us. DanCan Insurance Agency specializes in auto, home, motorcycles, and life insurance. Call us today at 509-328-1422.
Welcome back. I started the story when I was 10 years old, and Jason was kind enough to refer me to the Bremerton Sun, and the Bremerton Sun was kind enough to hire me. And that job taught me a lot. Like I had mentioned, it taught me how to have a schedule, taught me customer service, it taught me collections, it taught me that people didn't like wet newspapers. Some other funny stories about that is it also taught me a lot about customers' empathy when you're working hard and you're putting forth effort. One of the kind of the fun things about growing up in a small little town like that, like Keyport, is sometimes in West Washington doesn't snow very often, but when it did, it does, it kind of messes up everything because people aren't prepared for it. Hey, you still got to deliver that paper. And I remember a couple times when we had some pretty bad snows that I'm out there delivering the paper, and a lot of my clientele, they were a little older, and they would see this 10-year-old out there just huffing and puffing and throwing the paper out and all this other stuff. And man, more times than I can count, the nice ladies would make me some hot cocoa. Sometimes they'd invite me in and let me warm up. And it was 1985. You could do that. I don't know if you do that now. One of my other fun stories about that was a Halloween. Halloween was always a good deal because you could go around and people would give you candy before it was dark. But sometimes, and I'm ashamed to tell this, but I'm going to anyway, sometimes they would leave out bowls of candy. Here I am with this rucksack, if you will, with all these paper. I just dumped that whole candy thing right in my rucksack. Get back. Look at all this candy. Referrals are such an important part of business, specifically when you're trying to buy an item for anywhere from $150,000 to $350,000. If you buy that at $200,000, let's say, and it's worth $410,000, man, how important is that relationship? I built, like I said earlier, 3 strong businesses off a referral network. What I do to enhance those relationships is, first, I'm very thankful. Second, I try to create memories for them and their families. And so I give out a lot of tickets to Gonzaga basketball games, to concerts here in town. We have a minor league hockey team that I give tickets out to, and then also minor league baseball that I give tickets to. And so I'm really active in regards to fostering those relationships. Like I've mentioned in prior episodes, my job description is really simple. It's this: create and maintain big relationships. That's what my job is. And if you would like to invest in those relationships with me, man, I would love to have a short conversation with you. You can go to my website. Those will be in the notes. Man, referrals are so important. I talked about grapes. I talked about donuts. I talked about going down to the auction and buying a property at 60% of value. I've been going down there for 7 years now. It's just a really great lead source. So the 2 lead sources that we've had the most success with over the last 3 years is the county courthouse steps and then wholesalers. Most recently, we are sourcing some from direct mail. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I hope you have an amazing day providing, protecting, and promoting. And remember, Dan Can listeners, love well and do good.